Good morning, guys. This is G here, G's Loft, and I wanted to talk about to you guys a pigeon that has thicker, longer flights compared to a pigeon that has thinner and pointy flights. What would be the difference in my mind? What I think, you know. So if we're flying a race, a 400-mile race, even a 300 miles, don't matter, 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever it may be. So the pigeon that has round tips, and see the thickness, the width on the flights, see how thick it is and how it's long. This one is rounded. Okay. Compared to a pigeon with pointy tips and thinner flights. So a pigeon like this will flap his wing because it's catching all that wind. Has the round tips, has wider flights, longer, so it's just catching it, catching. Versus a pigeon with pointy tips and thinner flights has to flap like this, just to keep up with the pigeon that has round tips that's flapping like this. So I think a pigeon with round tips, thicker flights and longer flights is better for the distance versus a pigeon with pointy and thinner flights. Simply just because the round tip is gonna fly one speed versus a pointy tip is gonna flap almost twice as much to keep up with the pigeon that's just flapping normally. So in a three-hour flight period, 4 hours, almost getting there, the pigeon with the pointy tips, he's not gonna have that much stamina no longer to keep up with the pigeon that has the round tips and is just catching all that wind under his wing. And the speed is consistent all the way through. So that's what I think is for longer distances, the pigeon with the wider, rounder, longer tips do a lot better than pigeons with pointier, skinnier flights. Just because, like I said, he has to flap twice as hard to keep up with the pigeon that's flapping normally. You know? That's why I like my pigeons to have round tips, thicker flights. And even if a pigeon like round tips, thicker flights for a 200-mile race or 150-mile race, he will do just as good as a pigeon with pointy tips. But the pigeon with the pointier tips has to flap twice as much to keep up with it. But it can keep up at the shorter distance. When it comes 500, 400, 600 miles, that bird is not gonna make it. He might make it later on the day. If not, the next day, depending if it's a 500 or 600-mile race. So those are my thoughts on that kind of stuff. And I prefer the round tips, longer and wider flights. That's just my preference on a pigeon. This is a Kenny White bird. And another thing, guys, I'm gonna see if I can, the wing, if you put it like this against the wall, come on, buddy, and you need to stop. Right here where the flights meets, in this point where you can see the bump and then it does the curve again, the higher it is on a pigeon's wing, the greater the distance the bird can fly. Just like this one. You can see where all the dark tips are and then it turns light. So that's all the way up the bird's wing. A short distance pigeon, his wing will almost look like this compared to a long distance pigeon. Right here, this is where it interferes. See, that's pretty big. From down here to where I'm showing up here, that's a very long span. A short distance pigeon will have just a little span from here to here. Okay, that's something I notice in the birds. So the longer on the bottom, the greater the bird can fly. The shorter, the less distance the bird can fly. I think that's very accurate and true. I think so. I put a bird like that before. I had sprint birds, and I put the bird on a 400-mile race. That bird didn't come back till the next day. Okay, if you put him on 200 miles, 250, 150 miles, that bird was always on point, always on point. And I tried it. I put it on a 400-mile race, and it was a tough race too. And that bird was home the next day in the morning. It was early morning, but next day. So that theory proved out to me that it is true. I don't know if you guys have tried that or ever paid attention to that, but pay attention to it and put your bird to test. And if you have already, you can comment down below and let me know if it worked for you, if it's true, or if you have a short distance span pigeon that can fly a 600-mile race on a day. If you have, or 500 miles, let me know, comment down below, and I'll be happy to take a look. But that's what I think. Come on, boy, work with me here. You see, from the bottom here to right here, that's a big span. A sprint pigeon will look like this. Little span from here to there. Even sometimes shorter. And believe me, if you put it right on the door like this, and you can see where all the dark tips are, and then it turns light. That's a big span. Other pigeons will look like this. Sprint pigeons. See how fat and wide those wings are? Beautiful. Look at the secondaries as well. Covers all the way down. Look at that. Secondary flights is very important. Secondary flights is up here, guys. Nice wide secondary flights. Beautiful. This is what you want. Secondaries all up here. You want to have a good secondary cover. That's very important as well. A lot of people don't think so, but believe me, it is. For a bird to catch all that wind, and everything needs to be on point, everything. Well, guys, just wanted to show what I think. Round tips, thicker, longer tips compared to pointy tips, shorter flights. What the pigeon would have to do in the air to compare. So in my preference, I like round tips with the wide flights and long flights as well. To me, those are very important. And the greater the distance from the bottom to the where the feathers meet interact right here. That's very important to me as well. It's easy for a long distance pigeon to fly 200 miles than a short distance pigeons to fly 600 miles. You can have your long distance family win at a 200-mile distance, but you might have trouble, you will have trouble having your sprint pigeon winning on a 600-mile race. That's a fact. Not a lot of birds do that, does it? Believe me. So guys, here it is. Thumbs up, comment down below, let me know what you guys have found or tested on the subject that I'm touching today. And thank you for the ones that subscribe. I appreciate it, I really do. For the one that hasn't, please hit that subscribe button so you can get further videos. And this is G's Loft, and I will see you guys on the next one.